Xbox is splitting its fandom. What's up, y'all, and welcome to Xbox Ready, my YouTube channel that is all about Xbox, and we got a lot to talk about this week, and to help me talk about that stuff is my buddy, Mr. Jimmy Champagne over in Michigan. So as we all know, Xbox is in the middle of a really busy week over in Germany for Gamescom, and at opening night live, they had some very controversial news to share when they revealed that Indiana Jones was indeed going to be showing up on the PlayStation 5. Me and Jimmy were talking about it, texting back and forth through the whole show, giving our quick, stupid thoughts. So yeah, it's coming to PlayStation 5, and because it's coming to PlayStation 5, who better to have on than a PlayStation YouTuber, PS Ready, Jimmy Champagne himself. Jimmy, what is your quick take on this?
You can wishlist it. I saw in the PlayStation Store. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I don't really care. I was always going to play this on PC, so I'm still going to play it on PC. But it makes sense. It's an IP-based game. They probably had to pay a lot of money to get the Indiana Jones license, and they've spent the past 5 years training people not to buy games, so they can get that PlayStation money from the $70 purchase, make back a little bit of that licensing fee, make some money on this game. And also, every Machine Games game so far has been on PlayStation, so, you know, it's not like putting Halo just yet.
Yeah, I think there are two camps of people on this. There are some people who are like, yeah, it's whack because of previous things that Xbox has been saying, specifically Phil Spencer, and there are other people who are like, who cares? I think both things can be true. I think if you're a hardcore fan, you can feel jilted, you can be a little pissed that they're deciding all of a sudden to do this turnaround and ship their games over to PlayStation 5, and you can also acknowledge that it makes sense from a business standpoint. Different versions of your games, and you make your game available on more platforms. As a studio, as a publisher, you stand to make more money.
It's a bummer though. Like, I don't know. I just want there to be competition for PlayStation so Sony can't be anti-consumer, because like during the PS3 generation, that was when I was really heavily into Sony again after starting with the 360. And that was like the best when they were on their back foot a little bit and they had incentive to pump out a bunch of first-party games. Even if they were smaller, you were getting new cool stuff all the time. PlayStation Plus came out during that generation, and it was $50 a year and gave you free games and discounts on the store. You didn't have to pay for online either. They gave you free games when the PSN went down. Like, if you bought a game that had a Vita version, you also got the Vita version for free. So like, they did a lot of cool pro-consumer stuff, and then in the PS4 generation, they hit the ground running, took away the crown from Xbox right out of the gate, and then slowly started chipping away at all of that consumer-friendly stuff, and that sucks. So if they have no competition and Xbox's games are all coming day and date to PlayStation 5, Sony's de facto the hardcore gaming console for everyone at that point, and they're only competing with Nintendo.
I would say there definitely are people out there who bought an Xbox at the start of this generation with the understanding that was the only place they were going to be able to play like any new Bethesda games, the next Elder Scrolls, Indiana Jones, Starfield for sure, and any other Xbox exclusives that they've been hyping up, like Everwild, Perfect Dark, all those games. I get it from a business standpoint, but I don't think that they're handling it very well, and it's causing a lot of confusion in the community.
From a PlayStation, like a lifelong PlayStation fan's perspective, a lot of the worst aspects of PlayStation right now can be directly blamed on Microsoft doing these like short-sighted, rapid sweeping movements, like paying for online service on the console. The only reason that's a thing this starting with the PS4 generation is because Microsoft is raking it in, charging for Xbox Live, and Sony's investors are sitting there like, well, we want to make that money too. Then Microsoft makes Game Pass, starts giving away games for free to people, cheapens the overall feeling of games as a whole, like Netflix did for movies. And then Sony's investors sit there and say, well, we need to have some way to compete with that. So now we're stuck with 3 tiers of PS Plus that are way too expensive. So everything that Microsoft does that gets them money, I get a shittier version of it on PlayStation. And then Microsoft just goes, well, the industry is changing. They're the ones who change it. And then they like go, well, it didn't work, so we're moving on to the next thing. And I'm still stuck as a PlayStation gamer with like PlayStation's bungled version of whatever Microsoft did.
A lot of people seem to be really critical of Phil Spencer specifically, because if we go back to February when they appeared on the official Xbox podcast.
Can we say if either of those titles are Starfield or Indiana Jones?
They are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Technically, I guess he wasn't lying, because he was like, these 4 specific games that we're talking about right now, not Starfield, Indiana Jones. He didn't say that Indiana Jones never. In fact, After that, he did an interview with The Verge where he was like, every game we look at on a case-by-case basis, like we're still learning stuff. They definitely left the door open to have other exclusives or have their games go over to PlayStation. So I guess we shouldn't really be too surprised that Indiana Jones made the jump. For all the same reasons that we've been discussing. But at the same time, it's like, okay, what else is on the table? Like, all of those arguments can be applied to any Xbox game.
And at the end of the day, PS5 players are objectively getting the best version of all these games because every game ship's broken now. You got to wait for a bunch of patches for games to be functional. There's going to be DLC. There's going to be tons of updates. And when PlayStation players get the game, that's all done. Like all the waiting period of like being a beta tester for a game is performed on the Xbox side of the fence. So they're literally rewarding PlayStation players for playing their games.
We had a reverse situation for games like Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop. They came out on PlayStation 5. Xbox players weren't able to play them for a year, but when they finally came to Xbox, they were awesome, especially Ghostwire Tokyo with the Spider's Thread update and all those updates that they did for combat and stuff.
Yep. And the rapid fire shooting and everything.
Yeah, the wind rapid fire finger blasters. Wait, pause, hold on. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, finger blaster. I just said it again. Though, and it's crazy to think about. Deathloop, Ghostwire Tokyo, wrapped up for a year on PlayStation. Indiana Jones is like 4 or 5 months of exclusivity on Xbox. I don't think that's enough, especially because we were waiting patiently for all those timed exclusives from PlayStation to come to Xbox. And on top of that, people are reporting that for Game Pass Standard, which no longer gets day one games, they won't get the first party releases until a year after they release. So it'll be Game Pass Ultimate, Xbox release, PlayStation 5 version, and then it'll finally trickle down to the people who stick on Game Pass Standard. And something just doesn't feel right about that priority-wise.
It should be on standard on day and date with PlayStation at the very least.
I get it because it's like there's really no money to be made, like we've been talking about, if you release it on Game Pass Standard, because you're not having anyone upgrade to Game Pass Ultimate. You're not having them buy it. So there's really, I don't see a ton of gain for them, but in terms of like fan goodwill, community goodwill, it doesn't feel right that there's going to be a PlayStation 5 version before the Game Pass Standard version.
It's like, it's entirely a situation created by them, like never thinking more than one step in front of them. If they just like planned shit from the beginning and like made an eventual roadmap, like saying, here's what's going to happen if this happens, like tree it out, they wouldn't be in these situations constantly where they look like liars, which is really bad. And they wouldn't be in these situations where they're hurting their core audience, which again looks really bad. It's like there's no forethought. They just do stuff. It's like they wake up one day and go, well, we're changing everything.
Who knows? Like maybe they don't really know what is coming until Microsoft says, no, you're going to ship the PlayStation version of this game too. Maybe they do know. Both situations are not good. And I know that what people want above all else is just transparency. If they came out with a roadmap of like, here's our first party roadmap. Here is what is coming to PlayStation. Here is what's not. That would go a long way in just shutting everyone up, right? Because the only thing that people are talking about is not how good Indiana Jones looks or any of these other games look. It's like, oh, which of these games are coming to PlayStation? And that's going to be the dominant form of conversation until they come out and clear it up. But on the other end, if that roadmap comes out, if they come out and they say these games are staying, these games are going, and half of them at least are going to PlayStation 5, they know that's going to piss people off, and that's not something that they want to do either. They know there's going to be backlash, and they know there's going to be a population of people who are like, okay, I'm not going to buy an Xbox, I'm going to buy a PlayStation so I can have access to their exclusives, and then eventually all of these games that Xbox is going to send over. And I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not a businessman. Well, technically I am, but my business is content, not selling games and selling gaming hardware. So, you know what? Fuck if I know. At the end of the day, it's just like, it's never been done before. And I think that's where the anxiety is coming from. PlayStation's never done this. Nintendo's never done this. Maybe it further down the line we'll look back on this and be like, oh, shoot, Xbox was secretly a genius. They were really pioneers and got ahead of the curve here. Because I do understand where they're coming from, where it's like, as we go into the future, exclusives are going to be a smaller part of the business, all that and that. But
right, they act like that just happened. They act like, they're like, whoa, exclusive are less important. It's like, yeah, because you created that situation by putting your fucking games on PlayStation. Like, it's not like it just happened. You did that. Like, take accountability.
wait, hold on. Yes, they should take accountability, but I would also blame like the rise of Fortnite, Apex Legends, like these mega hits that are free to play, that are console. They're not console specific. They're not exclusive. It's like everyone can play them on every platform.
Yeah, live service you can blame for like every big problem in the industry. Like Sony making Concord, that's because of games like Apex Legend and PUBG, right? Like that's very obvious. They're like, oh, because these live services games like Fortnite, Apex Legends, and all the other ones like Destiny 2, they all make so much more money than traditionally $70 boxed games. And I get why all these developers and publishers want to have a game like that, but there's only so much room, right? There's only so many people playing games at any given time. So it's like, if you want that experience, you should have been first to market with it and not tried to react to like Epic Games making Fortnite. You should have made Fortnite.
They did announce the release dates of the new Series X consoles, and I just think it's all just weird timing.
Yeah, way to take the wind out of the hardware sales, right? Like,
you have this great lineup of games and this awesome booth at Gamescom, and the games, like the first impressions and the previews, people are walking away from them pretty impressed. They're having fun with them. But lingering over all of that is this announcement that Indiana Jones is going to PlayStation, and therefore, like, what else is going to go? And it doesn't help that they made such a big-ass deal out of it at opening night live. They were like, here's the release date for Xbox, bam, and we got one more thing, ladies and gentlemen. And it's like this huge fanfare for the freaking PlayStation release. And it's like, why? You could have just said Xbox announced and then quietly been like on Twitter, oh, it's also coming to PlayStation 5. Like, why make such a big deal out of it?
Yeah, or in a press release or something. Yeah, it's like giving away your entire identity, basically, because when they own so many different studios now, it's not like, if they just owned id, and id pumped out Doom games all the time, you could like be a fan of Xbox because you're a fan of Doom. Or like if they pumped out Elder Scrolls games, you could be a fan of Xbox because they pump out Elder Scrolls. But they've got Call of Duty, they've got Elder Scrolls, they've got Doom, they've got Gears. Like they've got all these like tiny communities, and the thing that holds them all together was the Xbox console. And they're just like seemingly totally willing to just be like, kick that shit to the curb, we're done. It's like so bizarre.
And people are saying like, who cares Indiana Jones? Who cares Indiana Jones? Who cares? It's going to be like a one and done game. You play it once and then you're done. But it's like, it's not just Indiana Jones. And we were saying that back in February. It's these 4 games. It's not just these 4 games. It could be any game. People are like, oh, as long as it's not Halo, as long as it's not Gears. It could be either Halo or Gears based on the criteria and what they are doing with Indiana Jones and these other ports. And I think it's naive to sit there like, man, they would never put Fable on PlayStation. It's like, yes, they would. Yes, they would. And they're definitely going to put Starfield. I bet money that they're going to put Starfield.
If all the Xbox people bought Fable instead of playing it on Game Pass, then you might not see it on PlayStation. But if 90% of the audience buys Game Pass Ultimate and plays Fable, they're going to be like, well, we don't have enough money to recoup the massive development cost of this game. So they're going to be forced to put it on PlayStation to recoup it. So it's really on Xbox fans. It shouldn't be, but it is, to show up and just buy the games that they want to stay exclusive. If you buy the games and make the game money, it won't come to PlayStation. Or it'll have the least chance.
Yeah, outside of all this exclusive or not exclusive drama, there are some other minor announcements that you may have missed. The partnership between Xbox and NVIDIA GeForce Now is deepening. It's popping up more and more, and they have GeForce Now integration on the Xbox website now. You have a lot of first-party games available in the GeForce library, and now you'll be able to link your accounts so you can automatically sign into your Xbox account whenever you use GeForce Now.
GeForce Now is cool. I finally come around on it. I get the hype. If you were in college and you just had like a MacBook or something, it'd be sweet to be able to own some games on Steam, play them through GeForce Now, and then if you ever get a full-on gaming PC, you already got a library of games you can play natively. Like, that makes sense because you're just playing your Steam games.
According to The Verge, this new account linking feature will mean you will only need to sign in and link an Xbox profile once, so that it's stored for all future GeForce Now sessions. So you'll be able to sync your library, and then you'll sync all of your Game Pass achievements and your data and all your progress and stuff. So if you don't want to play it on your Series S or like your really crappy laptop that you got for college or Chromebook, then you can go on to GeForce Now and potentially play it on like a 4080 with like a freaking ray tracing enabled and all sorts of really awesome features that you wouldn't be able to get on a Series S. Yeah, I'm interested to see like how close this partnership becomes. I'm up and down on cloud gaming. I was playing on my Amazon Fire Stick the other day, Neon White, and it was actually going pretty well. And then I was playing Mafia the other day on it, and I was like, oh man, there was like some really rough patches, and especially like the driving in that game is janky already, and the shooting is kind of as well. So I'm like,
Did you, like Mafia 1 Definitive Edition, are you talking about? Did you do the mission with the, where you drive the race car?
Dude, that was killing me because I had it on hard difficulty because I'm like, I ain't no bitch, like I can play on hard, give me a challenge. And then it got to the racetrack level and I was like, oh my God. That
was like infamous in the original version of Mafia 1. And then so with the Definitive Edition, they let you skip the race because it's so brutally difficult.
I really want to give GeForce Now a try. I'm very curious. I might do a video about it, like comparing straight up cloud gaming versus GeForce Now. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. Keep your eyes out for any posts coming up. I'm going to be continuing to cover Gamescom stuff. Check out my video that I just did about my first impressions on games like Aura History Untold, Avowed, Towerborn, and a bunch of others. If you made it this far into the video, hey, you might as well subscribe. Help me and Jimmy out. We are just small blue-collar business owners trying to make a living here on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, ring that little bell to be alerted whenever I post a video, and we'll see you in the next one.